for the views, let me show them that, cause I don't think they really get the picture like a photograph. Look.
Yo, 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 yo. Peace and supreme blessings. I am the real Omegatron 757. Welcome back to my channel. And today, I'll be paying homage to one of the greatest MCs of our time, Tariq Trotter, aka BlackThought. In my opinion, it's artists like BlackThought that don't get his proper respect amongst the giants in the hip-hop/rap community. When it comes to lyrics, cold up, freestyle, and just being an all-around dope MC, BlackThought has it all in a bag.
I think was dope.
Paying homage goes a long way inside of the hip-hop culture. Paying homage to the artists that came before you not only shows respect, but it shows that you are deeply rooted inside the culture.
You know, I think when I'm about so much of what I do, my style of storytelling is in honor of, you know, that from which we came, that from which I came. So it's always a nod to the foundation in that way. So if I look at, all right, you know, if I'm BlackThought, and the reason I call myself BlackThought, you know, has something to do with a painter's palette and, you know, the colors that go into, you know, all the different nuance that goes into creating even the color black, then my, you know, my top 5, 7, 10 is going to represent my primary colors.
BlackThought is one of those MCs that loves to pay homage and respect to the artists that came before him.
So for me, the primary colors, I would say Fuji Rap, just for, you know, as a technical MC, and just for his expansive, you know, even at the time, just his expansive vocabulary, like, you know, the breadth of knowledge that he was able to incorporate into his storytelling, you know, is to this day is timeless. You know what I'm saying? I could kick Coogee Rap's rhymes from Poison or Men at Work or Road to the Riches, you know, forever. And these are songs that are already 35 years old. You know, Big Daddy Kane for some of the same reason, but because he was the antithesis to a G-Rap, right? Big Daddy Kane was, you know, far more stylistic than technical, or just as stylistic as he was technical. And he was smooth, right? He was a smooth operator. And, you know, what both Kane, G-Rap, and also Rakim brought to the table was a different cadence that we hadn't heard before that's called iambic pentameter, which is just that, you know, that Shakespearean type to be or not to be style of ba-bum, 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 you know, like, you know, the man at hand, the rule in school and reach and teach, sublime, like that whole mind design to find a line that's right on time instead. Like, so they all incorporated that Shakespearean thing, but in a different way.
The element of MCing is one of the cornerstones of the hip-hop movement. In my opinion, how can you know your future if you don't know your past? So paying homage and giving respect and studying the art of MCing and hip-hop is a must if you want to be a dope MC.
I would say Rakim, again, obviously, just because he was the first one. Rakim was the first one who was fearless enough to say, I'm not going to rap the way everybody else is rapping. I'm not even going to stand up and record my vocals. I know everybody that's signed to Def Jam, from the Beastie Boys to LL to, you look at Profile and Run DMC, you bring it back to Public Enemy, everybody, you know, who was an artist of note at that point in time, was a departure from, and, you know, a very intentional departure from the Melly Mel's and Curtis Blows of the world, right? So everybody was trying to come with something new. And I think the way they were able to reason, resolve, like the way that they sort of worked through that was just to project more. So the whole initial Def Jam lineup was all artists who yelled. You know what I'm saying? And then Rakim was the first one, even amongst his own crew, because Rakim was a Marley Marl artist too. Rakim he was discovered by Biz Markie. You know what I mean? And he came up under, you know, Marley Marl was his producer, just like Kane and Craig G and Master Ace and all those other artists. But he refused to perform the way they did. And they laughed at him. They thought, you know, no one is ever going to, you're so monotone, it's boring. You know what I mean? You won't even stand up when you're recording your vocals. Why are you so shy? And he was able to he ushered in a new era, the era of MCs who approached their voice, their craft as like you would view the mastery of a musical instrument.
As you can see, even artists like BlackThought pay homage to a Rakim Allah, which is saying a lot coming from an artist like BlackThought himself.
Like no MC used their voice like an instrument before Rakim. And that was, because of, a lot of that had to do with his introversion, like his approach and the way he moved on stage and in the studio. But his creative approach was because he himself was a jazz musician and a student of jazz, and his older brother was a jazz musician and a student of jazz. And he, before he even knew he wanted to rap, he knew he wanted to do something where he was able to articulate himself in a way comparable to John Coltrane, right? So him, he was the first MC to really think about things in that way. So I say Rakim, Kane, G-Rap. I'm gonna say Chuck D because of his socio-political commentary. You know what I mean? Chuck, he was all, activist, right? Like he was like, the last thing on his mind, his last concern was, cadence and flow. And, he was just more about getting you the information, being on beat, being as like getting your attention, right? You know what I mean? Grabbing your attention, smacking you, saying, wake the fuck up.
In our culture, we have what is called the 5 elements of hip hop. But in my opinion, there are unseen elements in our culture that should be added on, such as the element of freestyle, in which BlackThought is superior, far superior than most MCs when it comes to those witty punchlines and on-the-spot freestyles.
We're living in some times that's the craziest. They say these legislators are the laziest. Dedicated religious figures have gone atheist. Each and everything must change. There's no escaping this. I'm on a block, post-apocalyptic smoke covers, coincidentally presented by the Koch brothers. The magnitude of this is bigger than the both of us. The attitude is trying to manage not to choke from it. Go and get the bolt cutters. Open the floodgate. Any relationship I've ever been in was love-hate. The city I was living in really never was safe. For some, a temporary resolution was duct tape.
It's not often that you find an MC such as BlackThought, who has had the longevity inside of the hip-hop game, that can still provide us the much-needed substance inside of his freestyle approach.
Beneath the flickering lampposts, we dance, managing to keep the kick of the amp closer than what some refer to as the Spirito Santos that spanned days of Dapper Dan through June Ambrose. The band made us clap our hands. What came after was the scratch from the Grand Wizards and Grand Masters.
And anytime that he's on the mic, class is always in session.
One topic of discussion was whose hands were faster than a 6 train where the illest tags were plastered. The pillars of a village at the origin of it came to occupy the space of our eternal beloved. This culture we constructed was determined to thug it and kept it rugged while the proverbial gates got flooded. Cold-blooded, no budget, but we became raw. To end the gang wars, what we started this thing for.
When we talk about the greats in the game, I just want to know why BlackThought is not mentioned amongst that list. We always hear names like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, but what about the real MCs, the backpack rappers, the hip-hop graffiti 5 element type rapper? That's what I think about when I hear artists like BlackThought.
So were we kings of pursuing visions of grandeur? When through the rhythm it was true religion we came towards. When Sylvia Robinson became a hip-hop mogul, who could have known we'd ever reach the tip-top total, or how one common cause could become so noble that...
So if you rocking with BlackThought, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Snakes in any form give me nightmares. To be honest, I don't shine unless my son's there. Was the comments till I seen it wasn't playing fair. I inhale, exhale, Lord, I've been through hell, even sat in the cell.